けど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう嬉しそうできる追加
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And I forgot to prepare an intro for this episode. We're talking about the Bleach movie. The
You know what? We don't
Memories of
need
Nobody. No. I've already forgotten half of the things that happened in this movie, and I just got done watching it. This one's probably gonna be a shorter episode. I'm gonna be surprised if this one goes like significantly past 1 hour. Maybe it won't even reach an hour. Maybe this will be.
You know what? I'm gonna call it right now. This is gonna be our shortest podcast episode ever done. Like, if there was ever a topic that was custom made to be the shortest podcast we've ever done, this is it. Cause about a third of this movie is waiting for a plot twist to happen that you can see coming from a mile away.
Yeah, we're talking about Bleach, Memories of Nobody, the first Bleach movie, first of 4. And if you want to see us talk about the rest of the Bleach movies as we cover Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen, other shonen anime, a whole bunch of other anime, we got this fall season coming up real soon, then don't forget to like the video, head on down to the comments, let us know what you think of the podcast, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Castaway Anime. Now grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, because this may take a while.
Yeah,
or not a long while at all.
not a long while at all. So, you know, I'm the Bleach positive guy on this podcast. I tend to be the Bleach defender while you're the Bleach offender. But there are times when I have to
come around to it towards the end of the Soul Society.
Yeah,
like,
we both
with each
sort of
podcast. I think I've been getting
Bleach
a little
defenders.
warmer and warmer. You've been warmer to it since the second half of the Substitute arc.
Yeah, I was thoroughly warm and red and glowing, like fucking ashes on a grill or whatever. But you know, there are times when you need to draw the line, and I think this is one of those times.
Hey, how did you like watching the Soul Society arc, but in a movie form and worse?
Who's that? Bring them to the twilight! Hirokomaru!
See, what I think Bleach excels at is extremely long-form storytelling. The pacing, if you really think about what happens on an episode-to-episode basis in much of Bleach, particularly the Soul Society arc, like, on paper, you see it and you're like, that shouldn't work. That is barely any content per episode. But somehow, you know, Bleach manages to make it all feel breezy and light and keep your hype up throughout all of these various action scenes. But with a film, it's a much more condensed short-form format. This is an hour-and-a-half long movie, roughly, give or take. And so, you don't have much time to set up characters, set up plot points, and I don't think Bleach is very good at that. Not only that, but in this movie, where you would theoretically want to tell as much in the time frame allotted as possible due to its length, this movie takes forever to get to the point. And like a third of it feels like it's just crawling. It's not that there's nothing that happens of note in that third. It's that they happen very slowly, and a lot of it is build up for a reveal that I could see coming from a mile. Okay, I need to get into this fucking mystery, because it pissed me off so much while watching the movie. So...
Do they present it as a mystery? I thought it was like very obvious that Senna was dead the whole time.
No, that isn't the mystery that I was talking about. The one that I'm talking about is the fact that she's the Shinenju. And it basically takes forever to get to the point where it's revealed that Senna is the Shinenju with the line... What the fuck is the line? I know I have it quoted somewhere. Well, basically, one of the Soul Society people is like, I know this is gonna be hard to believe, but Senna is the Shinenju. And I'm
I
like,
think that was Ukitake.
yeah. And I'm like, no, it's not hard to believe at all. As soon as the concept of a Shinenju got revealed to the viewer, it could only be Senna. That's the only character that would make sense to be the Shinenju. It's obviously her, and then we have to wait 30 minutes for the characters to get on the same page as the viewer. And to hear, this is gonna be hard to believe, guys, but she's the Shinenju. Kind of made me laugh.
I don't mean to expose myself, but like I knew Senna was obviously crucial to the plot. I didn't guess that she was the Shinenju, but only because we were told by Urahara that it's. Didn't he say it was like a gem?
No, he didn't say anything about that, at least in the subs that I had. Granted, I'm going off of fan subs. There was one part where they translated OK to capital O, capital K, 3, capital Y, so I mean...
Okay, yeah, I watched the Viz dub, and I don't remember much, but like I wouldn't be making this distinction. Do I even have a note for it? Yeah, okay, I even wrote down gem Shinenju. So like unless I'm gaslighting myself of a movie I just got done watching not even 30 minutes ago, then fuck me, I guess.
Granted, it is easy to gaslight yourself with a movie as largely forgettable as this one.
It's called Memories of Nobody because nobody remembers it. Heyo.
Ah, snap, you got the roast in there. But yeah, maybe that line was in there. I did not see it. Maybe it was just not translated with my extremely, arguably rough fan subs.
And this is why we dub watchers will always remain superior.
So yeah, maybe that does a better job of misdirecting the viewer. But like, as soon as I heard the Shinenju is someone who holds the memories of all the other blanks, I'm just like, it can only be Senna. That's the only character that it would make sense narratively to be the Shinenju. And we have to wait so long to get to that point. And it's kind of agonizing at times. Granted, there are some parts within that stretch of time that are interesting, but it's one of those things where the journey, like, I can expect something to happen and still enjoy the journey to get to it. But I don't think the narrative benefited at all from waiting so long for this plot point to be revealed, and for it to be, at least from my experience, so overwhelmingly obvious.
Yeah, it's not exactly anime filler movies, shonen anime movies. They gotta be non-canon because they can't advance unless they are literally supposed to advance the plot, like the Dragon Ball Super movies. They gotta make sure that they have to set up the challenge of having entertaining stories and cool set pieces while making sure that it never challenges the status quo. Like, it could feasibly happen within the storyline of where the anime or manga is at the time without horribly derailing it or adding in all this new canon that retcons or contradicts pre-established canon.
God, it was so funny when Rukia shoves in at the last minute, and everything about Senna will fade from our memories, and I'm like...
Did they really need to throw that part in? I could just believe that Senna was already, dead for real this time. All the loose ends were tied up. She didn't have to be brought up in the show or manga proper, but we had to have that one little, oh yeah, we're gonna self-neuralize ourselves because Senna's, gone from reality now.
Well, see, what makes it even worse is that there was totally a way to make that work. Set it up at the beginning that their memories of Senna will fade, and then her death will be that much more tragic in the moment. It could be really effective storytelling. But, the ending, granted the ending is easily the best part of the movie. I love it for the most part.
I like
But-
it in theory. I was just not invested in Senna enough for it to hit as hard.
That's the thing. That is absolutely the thing.
I feel like if this were like actually in the story, and instead of having a movie's worth of time, we had an arc. Maybe not necessarily one as long as the Soul Society, but maybe something as long as the substitute arc, like a good, I don't know, 10 episodes with Senna. Establish her as a character, get more of her backstory, more understandable. Because like she, all right, fill me in on this one because I think I'm still a little confused. Was she having memories of other, like a bunch of other people's lives, or was she having?
It was
okay.
a bunch of other people's lives, and knowing that she was the Shinenju, I was like, okay, that's one dad. Oh, that's another girl's dad. Oh, this dad is violent and domestically
that makes a lot more
abusing her.
sense because I remember seeing her as a boy at one point, and I'm like, wait, is that supposed to be a brother? Is this like a first person view, and that's her brother, or is she experiencing multiple people's memories? So that makes a lot more sense because I thought they were setting up like a real tragic thing of with the one part where she's like fighting her dad and like he's beating her and she like probably didn't remember because she had like a fucked up childhood. And I thought that they were setting up this whole thing of she likes being at high places because when she died she like killed herself from jumping from a high place.
Oh, that would have been dark.
I thought that's what they were setting up, but we can't get too fucked up in this shonen filler movie.
See, Senna on paper is such an interesting character to me, and easily like probably the best part of the movie, even though they sort of dropped the ball, because I feel like what we have right now is like the beginning of an amazing character to center a film around. She's very whimsical, very hyper, just does whatever, literally teleports all over the place. Like she'll be in one spot for a second, and you turn around for literally like, you look around your shoulder at a pigeon flying by, then turn back and she's 2 blocks away. And that's hilarious. That's great. And her and Ichigo, was I the only one that thought that Senna and Ichigo would make a really good couple?
I mean, that I nothing will ever replace the what's the ship name? Ichiruki.
Well, yeah, obviously
that's never gonna happen
honestly,
because Kubo's a fucking hack. But
we'll see. I gave up on that ship enough to be like, ooh, Senna and Ichigo they have a really fun dynamic. I think something could happen here. Sparks could fly. It can make her death even more tragic. But
yeah,
obviously,
she definitely was pussy whipped for Ichigo because she straight up said, "I can't imagine a world without you in it," and then killed herself to make sure he stayed alive.
Yeah, so on paper, this is like a it's basically the whole cursed person trope where your life is cursed and you've got to die in order to save the world. At least in Senna's case, to save both worlds, actually, both the Soul Society and Earth. And so she has to sacrifice herself for the greater good. And on paper, that's like a really cool thing, we could have some really powerful emotional moments, but I don't think, the dynamic between Senna and Ichigo was fun while it lasted, but I feel like so much more could have been done with her character. Like the stuff about her liking high places. What was that about? It's not really explained. It's just sort of left there. There could have been this moment of Ichigo asking Senna, well, why do you like high places so much? And we have this really tender scene atop like a rooftopper in the Ferris wheel. They should have gone in the Ferris wheel. She never got
to ride the Ferris wheel.
I'm molding about that. I just remembered she never got to ride the Ferris wheel.
Tragic.
Absolute. And that's the thing. It could have been so much. It was not a whole lot.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
I feel like this is sort of the inverse of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where at the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, I was, fairly invested because I thought the plot could totally go places, and then it proceeded to not go places, and my investment faded. Whereas with this movie, I was mostly tapped out until the final act, and then during the final act, we get some of that cool hype Bleach action with villains you don't care about whatsoever. So I mean,
how do you like the dark ones, Crunchy? Were you not a fan of the dark ones with such memorable characters as Ganryu and they don't even name them, dude. They don't even get fucking names.
It's a rough time when I was sort of deadpan at the beginning of the fight scene, and then Kenpachi, my brother in Christ Kenpachi, appeared on screen and started causing the whole grounds to crumble beneath him. And I popped off. I was like, Kenpachi, save me from my boredom! And you know what? I did manage to get a fair bit more excited once Kenpachi was on screen because I am very deeply invested in Kenpachi.
But yeah, he did have the most interesting fight in the movie. And by fight, I mean he let the guy hit him for a minute before he absolutely bodied him.
Yeah, God, I'll forget all these fights. I'm already beginning to forget the fights, but because they weren't set up and they barely exist.
They're just there because we need to have an action scene and we need to have all our cool characters fighting all the evil bad guys. We had Soifon fighting the purple-haired lady. We had Toshiro fight the spike cannon guy. Renji fought the big club man. Rukia fought
Actually, there is something I do want to mention with Renji, which is that he whips out his Bankai, and then this movie gets saved by one of the best shots in it. Just such a cool moment. All right, Bleach is officially pro-gay because Ichigo rides Renji's snake to victory. What, you think gay rights are funny, Neon?
No, I was just not expecting you to set it up like that. You mentioned it in the Discord, so I knew what shot you're talking about. I was like, oh yeah, Ichigo riding Renji's Bankai is pretty rad, but I was not expecting you to set it up like that.
See, it's a great, gay jokes aside, it is actually a really good moment. I was like, that's so raw! I thought it was a nice example of teamwork, of riding the Bankai to victory. Also, funny story about that joke. I literally wrote Ichigo rides Renji's snake in my notes and then went, hold on. wait a minute.
Hey, Rukia finally gets to do something. She gets to fight for once.
I think this is the first time we've seen her actually properly fighting with all her powers intact.
Yeah, and I guess she is also an ice user like Hitsugaya.
I couldn't get a read on if it was maybe like fucking, how am I forgetting?
Mirrors or ice?
Yeah, I was thinking it might have been like Byakuya's power, where it's like the dust from the sword, or maybe it's crystals or ice. I can't.
Well, Byakuya's thing is that his sword turns into
his sword splits
Sakura
apart.
petals. Yeah.
Well, not literally Sakura petals, but they reflect the light such that they look like Sakura.
Yeah,
petals.
it's a visual motif, but in actuality, they're like millions of tiny little blades.
Yeah, so I thought maybe she like manifests them and that leads to the sparkly crystal stuff. Maybe they're literally just crystals. It would be really weird if it was ice. Because Hitsugaya
is the ice man.
If it was also ice, that would be super lame. So I do want to get a better read on what her powers are. I imagine this will all be explained in an actual canon episode of the show.
All right, because I want you to temper your expectations. No spoilers, but we're not gonna be able to see Rukia's Bankai until the 1,000-Year Blood War arc.
But why?
Because she's a primary female character in a Shonen Jump series.
That is so lame.
Yeah. Sorry that I had to be the one to break to you. I just didn't want it to go. I didn't want to torture you by being like, we're all the way up to like the fucking I don't know what the arc is after Arrancar, but like we're like near the end of like the primary Bleach anime, and you're like, how the fuck have we not seen Rukia's Bankai yet? And you're just like, I don't know, maybe it's coming soon.
Oh god. I mean, I get why it wouldn't be shown in the first 2 arcs, but come on.
Yeah.
Well, disappointment aside. Yeah, so
the fights are, you know, whatever. The only fun one, like, all right, can we fucking talk about how shit this movie villain is?
I mean, he doesn't have. It's hard to talk about how he's shit, because the reason he's shit is because there's nothing to him.
He has a decent design, and that's it.
He just looks kind of edgy, and then you're like, oh, what's his? Oh, we never learn. And see,
his thing is that his clan, the clan of darkness, the Dark Ones, 1,000 years ago, were banished from the Soul Society because they tried to take it over, and they were banished to the Bankai Precipice, which is the dimension between the Soul Society and the human realm that allows, you know, the two sides to pass through, because the two worlds can't be directly touching each other. There has to be a border between them. And this is the border. This is the border patrol. So in retaliation, in a plot of revenge, it is their plan to utilize the blanks, which are souls without memories, and they refuse I don't remember exactly how it was explained. I just know that they don't end up in the transmigration process of, you know, humans who die go to the Soul Society.
I don't think there is a set in stone explanation. I think it's just that sometimes they aren't in the usual transmigrational process, and that's the end of the explanation.
Yeah. Why? Who knows? If they did explain it, it was there's several scenes in this movie of just straight exposition dumps. So you'll forgive me if I don't retain.
Just quick aside, I hate how like they have the drawings on screen to make it more memorable. Bitch, Rukia should have drawn them. Why wasn't it Rukia?
Rukia's adorable little diagrams.
That would have made the exposition actually fun, but instead it's some random schmuck I don't care
from the
about.
very first episode, the shot of her sitting on her knees and holding up the funny illustrations on the little flip book.
Yeah, and she takes it like completely seriously, whereas Ichigo's like, what even is this? That would have so much banter would have had. I hate how much missed potential is here.
The most soul in this entire movie is that little opening bit between Ichigo and Rukia, where Rukia's chastising Ichigo for leaving his body behind.
That scene was actually funny because it like hard cuts to the paramedics.
And Rukia puts on this little act of what plays out the scenario, real cutesy like, and like that's the fucking classic Ichigo Rukia chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry we've been missing for so long because of plot, and we only get a small snippet of it in this movie.
Yeah, so back to the villains. So now they're Ganryu and his crew. His plan is to utilize the blanks and in a whole mass of them, because a whole mass of them will create the fucking the Shinenju, and with the Shinenju, it will form this thing called the Valley of Screams, where it is formed when a whole shit ton of blanks swarm together and form the Valley of Screams inside the Bankai precipice. And when it gets too big, the Bankai precipice starts collapsing in on itself, and then the gravitational force pulls the Soul Society and the human realm together until they collide and wipe them both out. So their plan is just destruction of the world. How they plan to survive it is beyond me, but maybe they're just cool with it. Maybe they're just like maybe they're like the Soul Society equivalents of school shooters, where like they're planning to take their own lives, or they're not afraid of death.
Oh god, yeah, Ganryu, the first incel shooter. So, see,
and that's the beginning and end of their stake in the movie, because they have no presence beyond that.
So, I, on paper, enjoy the idea of someone cast out from the Soul Society and who, wants revenge. Because there's this undercurrent throughout the show that the Soul Society and the way it's run, it isn't exactly run well, even in this movie. Arguably, there's plenty of debate to be had about whether or not it was the right choice, but they're basically planning on nuking the entire dimension, even though Ichigo and eventually a bunch of other Soul Reapers are there. And, our characters are frequently up against the Soul Society. And they still have what's his name? The psychopathic robot man.
Mayuri?
Yeah, Mayuri. They still have him on board.
Yeah.
Not everyone in this place is all cuddles and smiles and sunshine. And the idea of them unfairly casting someone out and having a villain that's kind of in the right, but also is going about their revenge in the wrong way, that's kind of cool. Granted, it could also totally fall into the trap of, I have the right beliefs, but also I'm evil for no reason, so you don't have to think about it too hard, which is certainly a narrative trap that other characters have fallen into. But done right, that's an interesting conflict. Anyway, none of that actually happens.
No, and then the fucking way that Ichigo beats it is so lame. He just hits him really hard. That's all he does.
The fight didn't even feel like it was over when it was over. I blinked and was like, oh, the fight. Oh, it's over. Oh, we're done. Okay.
Yeah, we're doing the final stroke duel? Okay, I feel like we skipped like a whole step of the fight, but...
See, 10 episodes would have been great for this because we could set up each of the villains individually. We could do something with them. These are like the least interesting villains we've had in the entire show. See, Bleach has good villains on average. I really like Bleach's villains for the most part. But this ain't it, Chief. Just ain't it.
The funny thing about that is that there's really only one villain of Bleach right now, and that's Aizen.
One true villain.
And now we just have former antagonists who are
antagonists is a better
on
term.
our side.
Yeah, but those characters, when we are going against them, Mayuri is a psychopath and should very well be a villain, but for whatever reason is still with the Soul Society. But I like him because he's
you
just
would think
so
he'd be
evil.
with Aizen.
Yeah, you'd think. But I guess he's just fine so long as the Soul Society tolerates his genuinely abusive and evil behavior.
Yeah, because I was trying to remember who the other captains were that sided with him. It was the blind guy and Ishimaru.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also explain this to me. How is it that when Ichigo first fights Ganryu, when he takes Senno away, he pones his Bankai super easily, and then when he comes back to fight him in the fucking Valley of Screams or whatever, they like go even for a time?
Well, you see, Neon, what you forgot is the one throwaway line where I think it was Ichigo, but it might have been another character, says, "You've gotten stronger since I last met you." You see, this covers up all. You see, this covers up all the plot holes. I don't know what you're going on about, Neon.
I guess when he beat Ganryu, he was empowered by Senna. I guess
that doesn't even make like that should have been set up if that was the case.
I remember a bit where like he calls out to Senna and then Senna calls out to Ichigo and then he gets a big power boost. He breaks through Ganryu's bindings. And
see, I thought that was just heart of the cards determination bullshit.
Yeah, I thought it was just him, you know, pulling out. I was expecting him to pull out the fucking hollow mask that he used against Byakuya for a bit, but I guess not.
I mean, I guess Chekhov's gun is cocked for the actual narrative. You don't want to fire it in this filler movie.
I mean, like, you know, why not? If it doesn't have to advance that narrative point at all, just have him bring out the, because he still gets the red energy that he gets from the hollow mask that he used against Byakuya.
Well, see, I have no idea, fucking what the narrative does with the hollow mask, so I have no idea how plausible that would be. You probably actually know because you get spoiled on everything.
I do know the answer and I won't say it here, but I'm saying that he could easily just, you know, have it forms on him again and then he finds a way to overwhelm Ganryu with it.
Yeah, it could happen. Let's see. Khan as a comic relief sucks in this movie. I got really annoyed with him. I like the scene where Ichigo stomps him into the ground repeatedly over and over again. That was funny. Everything after that was not
We've entered
funny.
the point of Bleach where Kon is no longer, you know, this character with a tragic backstory who was condemned to die because condemned to die by the people that created him. So all that sympathy, just throw it out the window. Now he is everyone's punching bag.
See, I don't necessarily mind that, but he needs to be a funny punching bag. He's not a funny punching bag, though.
What do you mean? He likes to hug all the girls.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
That's it.
And he likes to complain a lot. Yeah, Kon is no one's favorite character in Bleach. What else do we have to did we go over the ending properly, or did we just complain about how it didn't hit as hard as it could have?
Yeah, we only talked about how it wasn't what it could have been. But it is still the best part of the movie. So what happens is Senna is basically well, actually, okay, so the plot reason why this is happening is because they were too late. The dimensions are about to converge. The world's gonna end. Oh no. But Senna's like, broski, I can like give myself up, go unexist. The hollow, or not the hollows, the blanks will disperse and, you know, disappear, and all will be well in the tri-state area, and the two dimensions will come apart again. And so she gives herself up, you know, sacrifices her life, and doesn't immediately like disappear or anything. I thought she was gonna straight up fade like immediately after that, but the world gets saved, but she's like just clinging on to life. And I actually like this because they get to go back to her parents' grave, or well, actually, what she thinks her grave is. It was like other family members and then her, I think, was what it was.
Well, no, it's what she thought was her own
well,
grave.
Yeah. There's this amazing moment that is genuinely the best moment in the entire movie. It's so good. So, she can't see. Her vision is hazing over completely. And she's like, they go to the grave that she thinks is hers. Because she has it in her head and is like, okay, go to that grave, like however many from the left or whatever. And Ichigo looks down. She's like, was I there? And it's Kazuo Sato and Manabu Sato. Ichigo says to her, well, he pauses for a bit and then he says, yeah, it's there. And I'm like, that's so good. That is so unbelievably good.
Even if he has to lie to her, just to give her that one little like peace of mind, being like, "Yeah, you were right. There was you couldn't remember much, but you remembered this, Senna. This is in fact where you died. You lived in this town." But it was she didn't.
It's such an interesting character moment, and imagine how good it would be if Senna was like a character you could get properly invested in. I yearn for the version of this scene where I'm bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, you could tell that this was supposed to be like the most emotional, like cry moment of the movie, but I could feel, the process of what they were going for. But because the steps we took to get there were not nearly as fleshed out as they could have been, given enough time, I was just like, I mean, it's nice, but it's
See,
not,
I
doesn't
I
have the
can
same oomph that it
acknowledge,
should.
yeah. I mean, I still think it's a brilliant moment, but it doesn't register. See, I still like Senna. I still think she's a fine enough character, but I'm just looking at her like it could have been more. And so her being a fine enough character still makes the moment register to me. It's still like, ooh, that's good. But it's still, I mean, it's what we've been saying this entire time. Missed potential.
Yeah, that sums up this whole movie pretty much.
What did you think about the animation? If I
was actually literally about to go into that.
Okay.
It's a Bleach movie, so it's nice to see it. My version was in HD because it was the Blu-ray cut, so that was real nice to see. It's nice to see Bleach in widescreen for once. The animation.
Unfortunately, my version of the movie, I actually had the same issue with my Lika Rico video. Go watch it now. But when I put it into Handbrake, I messed up the settings to where the frame rate would vary automatically depending on what Handbrake's AI decided it should be, and it completely messes up the frame rate of the footage. The version of the movie that I watched had that, so it would occasionally it would skip frames like about once a second, and for the most part it wasn't noticeable. But with panning shots, you can totally tell because the frame rate is completely consistent there, except for the missed frames. It stopped bugging me after a while, but it was like the only thing on my mind for the first 10 minutes of the movie because I was like, I had this same issue. So remember, kids, set your Handbrake settings correctly.
In Minecraft.
What do you mean? Oh yeah, in Minecraft. Nearly forgot.
Yeah, we have to absolve ourselves of all accusations.
In Minecraft.
It's the get out of jail free card. Yeah, the animation is nice. It's consistent. If we're talking like on a moment to moment basis, the best Bleach has ever been for us.
Yeah, I have some issues with it.
I don't think it's as like when it's at its best, it's not hitting the same peaks as the fights between the best bit of animation in Bleach to me is the Soul Society fights near the end, specifically with the Ichigo and Byakuya so far is the best part of all of Bleach so far.
I'd have to rewatch this, or rewatch that scene plus the fights in this movie directly to compare, because, I mean, here's my issue with the movie's animation. You can tell they focused really hard on the fights, and not necessarily as much on every other scene in the movie. Because...
You mean the directing, because it's not good?
So, this director likes crowd shots. The
Noriyuki
director,
Abe, director of the Bleach anime.
Yeah, so I guess because it was a movie and because they had the time and, the manpower, whatever they had to make the move, to basically animate the crowd shots, what he decided is, I will have as many crowd shots as possible, as much focus on random bystanders as I can, to the point where there's like one point in the movie where it completely cuts away from the main characters to have these random people in a booth. And I'm like, but why? It takes up like at least 20 seconds or something like that.
There's so many shots where like the camera is pulled way too far out. Like even in that really fun scene between Ichigo and Ruki near the beginning of the movie, where Ruki is acting out a scenario of Ichigo losing his body to an ambulance. This camera's like, it should be at like a mid shot, but it's like pulled twice as far out as it should be. Like you took the camera like the frame, and you took it into Photoshop and you scaled it down, and then that was it.
Well, see, I don't even necessarily hate the idea behind that, because this is something that some Shaft anime do, where they will set an entire conversation at a distance because it's like quirky, fun directing, where it's like, oh, isn't it so weird that we put like what you would expect to be close up is literally like in the background and all smushed into this one bit. Like, isn't that funny?
Well,
and it is funny in small bursts.
That's fine
when
in
it's
moments like
intentional.
where, okay, we like reverse shot of this conversation where these characters are not like gonna emote or do a lot of character acting, maybe because maybe they're sitting in a room or something, like standing on a bridge or something. It's not going to be the most interesting thing in the world. So what we could do things like, maybe do a long shot of them talking, where you could see like their bodies as like maybe little specks, but then you get a perspective of the world. And maybe it's thematically cohesive, because maybe they're talking about like their worldviews, and then you could see a shot of the setting that they're in, and maybe that makes it cohesive and relevant to what they're talking about. This movie is just crowd shots and camera being pulled way too back when it should be closer up, because these characters are quirky and doing a lot of character acting.
It does not feel as cinematic as I would expect a movie to feel. It more so feels like normal anime directing, but also there's like crowd shots and lots of them, because we can do that now. It's a movie. And
yeah, hey, count your blessings, Crunchy. At least they weren't CG.
True. That is true. But yeah, like the art sometimes on like the non-action scenes isn't that good. You'd expect it to be better considering it is a movie. Granted, a filler movie, but a movie nonetheless.
Okay, this was kind of bothering me the whole movie. What's up with Senna's face?
I noticed that.
Like, what is it? Her? I want to say it's her eyes, maybe because her eyes like
her eyes.
Giant orange orbs.
I think her eye, because I only started noticing it after a certain point in the movie, and I'd have to go back and check to see if they like, for whatever reason, changed the way she was drawn. Like, I only noticed it after a certain point, and once I noticed it, I couldn't unnotice it. It just looked weird. Why are her eyes too big?
Yeah, it almost feels like she's drawn slightly off kilter, off model, just enough where it's like
that's totally what it feels like. It might
where it's like it's not like
that,
egregious, but it's just enough to where it's like something's like off about looking at her.
Yeah, and I wish the art quality was more consistent in the non-action scenes. There's just a lot that could have been better. Let's see, what?
I think that's pretty much it. We've covered every aspect about this movie
that
matters.
I guess there's one really specific thing I want to talk about, which is the blanks themselves. Because I think their introductory scene is actually one of the best parts of the movie, where you see this whole horde of these weird creatures. And what I liked about them, emphasis on liked, Ed, is that they were completely silent.
Spelled
they didn't...
Likeeted.
Yes, exactly like that. It's that they don't react to anything. Well, they barely react to anything. They seem to just acknowledge their surroundings blindly, and then continue forward. And that works so well with what they are. And they're so mysterious the first time you see them, where you're like, what could this even possibly be building towards? It's so out there and weird. But then they get hands and start attacking people because the movie needs another action scene. You know, it doesn't break the movie's plot to just have Senna start killing them for no reason, and then they like hate her even more for it, and it's, you know, a small conflict. And she's like, I just felt like it was the right thing to do, you know, because it works with her character. She just instinctively has that urge because she carries on their memories so that they don't have to persist. But I don't know, turning them into just mobs feels like it defeats the point of what a blank is. I don't think they should be enemies that we attack in the middle of the fight scene that are just there to be there. I feel like they were way cooler when they were just hovering around, doing their own thing.
You actually reminded me of a criticism I had of them. Like their designs are simple and effective. They're little white ghosts with red faces, you know, very blank, hence the name. I don't like that when they are defeated, they don't like get torn apart like a hollow does. They just fade, like someone put the fade out tool on them.
I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I don't hate it.
I just found it very unsatisfying because instead of being like, you know, we see all the other, and there are a couple moments that like I distinctly remember this one shot of Rangiku cutting through one of the blanks and like actually like tearing it in two. But whereas like we see most of them when they're fighting the blanks, they just disappear with just a like basic fading effect, and I just thought, wow, that's really unsatisfying. It gives no weight to the movement of their swords or attacks. It just feels like they're passing through their general vicinity and they disappear. It's like very lame.
See, my issue is I don't think they should have been fighting the blanks to begin with. They're not threatening. They're there to be there. They're just kind of a waste of time.
They're like Minecraft mobs.
Yeah, and they were cooler when you didn't fight them. When they didn't fight back, when they were just existing. That's the best thing that has to do with blanks in this movie. Turning them into mobs is just kind of a very hollow feeling attempt to add in another action scene. Oh no, this mob of things is gonna get me. I liked it way better when they weren't trying to get the main characters.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think I agree with you too.
Okay, that's actually all I have to say about the movie.
All right, this is my last point, and this will tie into the conclusion that we're just reaching. This is just a Soul Society arc, but again, changed my mind. The Soul Society wants to go after this girl who they are like condemning to their authority, and Ichigo is like fighting for her even against the Soul Society. Then she's going to be taken to some kind of like altar or something to have a procedure done to use her or destroy her, and Ichigo has to go to a different plane of existence to fight the guys and save her.
Admittedly, when Senna was on that thing that was harvesting her energy or whatever it was doing, I was getting flashbacks to Rukia on the Sokyoku. Or I guess about to be fired at by the Sokyoku.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for anime filler movies to basically take arcs and then truncate them and retell them as, like, you know, these little shonen movies, but man, it's so lame when they do, because I've seen, you know, I think some of my favorite, well, maybe not, favorite's a bit of a stretch, but the My Hero Academia movies, at least the first two, I'm not a big fan of the third one. The first two tell stories that are not related to the story proper that they come from, and they're much more enjoyable because they don't, you're not feeling like, hey, I've seen this you know, scenario before.
See, I don't even think this would be an issue if the story was better, if it was like actually good then I'd be like, well, it follows the same general path, but at the same time, it's not. It has its own value to bring to the table, is what I'd say. But because it has so much missed potential, kind of, once again, a bit of a whiff.
And I think that's just about all we have to say about Memories of Nobody. Well, what score are you thinking?
I'm thinking 5 out of 10 because it is still, at the end of the day, it's still Bleach. It's still got some good ideas that it just doesn't execute on, and the ending is still really good. Except for, I nearly forgot to mention this. Why did Senna come back?
I think they wanted to take away the this is like a thing to do for audiences because like, hey, why do endings have to be bittersweet? Why can't we just have a sad why can't we just have a sad ending? No, audiences need to be, have some kind of hope by the end of everything because we have to. It makes them feel good and it makes them better towards our bottom line. So
I didn't like that. I did not like that after credits scene. If
I also
we just
don't get it. Like, is that because it looks exactly and acts exactly like Senna? Did she get immediately reborn?
I guess the logic would be that through it all, somehow, she, faded away, but even still, the core idea of, what's the term? The Shinenju. The core idea of it still worked out in the end where it was able to transplant the memories into another form. But at the same time, doesn't that mean the plot could just restart at any moment if the wrong villains find her?
If I were in charge of this and I was forced to by producers being like, no, you have to include this part after she disappears or with you're not making the movie. I'm like, I would make it so that instead of her coming back as an actual person in the world of the living, I would have Ichigo when he grabs the ribbon in the air, he gets a brief flash of memories of the person who was in fact Senna, because we know Senna was a person at one point. She's one of the many memories that made up the Shininju that she was. So when he grabs the ribbon, even though he's forgotten her, he remembers the true Senna, who did in fact live in this town. Maybe there's had the wrong grave or something, and he gets a flash of her, running to school with her friends, and when she passes by Ichigo, he turns to look at her, then she's disappeared, and then Ichigo, he still doesn't quite remember, but he gets that smile on his face of contentment, and maybe for the briefest moment, even if he doesn't fully remember the events that he experienced with Senna, he is gets that the feeling, the feeling of, yeah, this is right.
See, that'd be sweet, but in a good way that doesn't undercut the ending entirely. But instead,
I'm gonna be honest. I'm thinking 4.
You're thinking 4?
All of the good parts of this movie are either undercut by something or just not giving enough time to hit as hard as it is, and all the bad parts are just bad. The villains suck. The directing's not great. The ending on paper is good, but in execution, does not hit nearly as hard as it should. The fights are whatever.
Admittedly, talking about it on the podcast has made me a little more bitter towards it, especially since I remembered at the last minute, oh yeah, they do totally undercut the ending. I think I might still keep here. Actually, let me look at what I've given a 4. I think I'm still at a light 5, but I can look at what I've given comparable scores to.
Didn't you give My Adventures of Superman a 5?
Yeah, I gave Maz a 5.
Would you say this is on par with Maz?
Maz is way worse at its lowest points, which I know you hard disagree with.
At its
more
lowest
than likely.
points.
At its lowest points, I think Maz is worse. I think Maz at the very least, is entertaining more often? Question mark. But it's still not good.
Didn't you give Liko Rico a 4 the first time you saw it?
Well, that was the first time I saw it. My standards aren't like that anymore. I mean, they're still roughly
My
the same.
standards aren't the same
but-
as they were 1 year ago.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I think Liko Rico is a 6 now.
Which you can find more about by watching his new video that just came out at the time
Yes.
of recording.
Like I gave Rust Eater Bisco, although Rust Eater Bisco had good moments though.
And it's
to be
getting
fair.
a season 2, baby!
But like, I gave Shield Hero a 4. This isn't... Shield Hero started off better, but by the end it was insufferable, so...
Yeah, Shield Hero by the end is worse than this.
Shield
Like,
Hero
that's like
went
a balanced
so far.
4.
Yeah, so... I think I have to keep it at a light 5. I can't justify putting it in the same category as Shield Hero. I do not like Shield Hero. I can't justify that, man. I'm keeping it at a light 5. Like, it barely got spared. You just survived the rapture.
Yeah, and if you want to survive the rapture, viewers, then be sure to like the video. And on down in the comments, let us know what you think. If you've ever seen the fucking first Bleach movie, let us know what you think. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. That'll do it for this week. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.